Hello, welcome to Pop Along RC, the RC car channel dedicated to RC car racing. And if you've been keeping up to date with what we've been doing, you will know that recently I finally got Mark to have a go properly at truck racing. Now, this is at a current little series that we've got going on at the MK Club, and we are running the TT01 chassis, and we've got some quite strict rules with regards what you can actually change on the cars. So this video really is talking about Tamiya shells, Montech shells. Does it make any difference? And is there any evidence to say one is better than the other? You cannot deny that the Tamiya shells look absolutely amazing. So this is the hand racing MAN truck. It is a very square fronted truck. The bugger is a slightly sleeker design and tends to do quite well at the track. And then here in the middle we have the Montech truck body. This is the truck shell that I tend to use when I race over at Stevenage. It's also the shell that's just been agreed to be run at MK, and at the moment I've still got my rear wing fitted. However, for future events, no wings are going to be allowed, so we're going to have to take that off so that we don't run a rear wing. Does a rear wing on this truck make much difference? I would argue not really, given how much of a big front face this shell has. I can't imagine having this tiny little wing on the back is going to do a great deal of difference. If it was a big wing elevated high, then maybe it would create quite a bit more downforce. But as it is, I'm not sure it's going to make a massive difference. However, there was definitely a difference between these two shells. So we have actually got data from our last race meet, because both of these shells were run by two drivers, and therefore we can compare the data for both of them. So, as I've said before, this here is my go-to truck shell, whereas this is the one that comes with the kit. The pros of this shell in the middle here, the Montech shell, is it is about £30 to buy. This one over here, if you want to buy a new one, you're looking in excess of about £50 to get a Tamiya shell. So considerably cheaper than the Tamiya shells. As you can see from these two as well, the height of the shell, so that front face is a lot smaller on the Montech shells. Granted, the MAN truck probably is the most square and tallest of the Tamiya trucks. I know that the bugger is a little bit lower and a little bit sleeker because it's got that nose on it. But what did it mean on the track? So in the first two rounds of racing, I went with a Montech shell. However, in the third round of racing, I took out this shell here, and then in the final, I went back to this car. Meanwhile, Mark ran this shell in the third round and took the truck out in the final. So by this time, the track had plenty of additive down. The trucks had as much grip as they were going to have for the day. So therefore, we'd pretty much found our feet. And round 3 and the final, you tend to be running quite similar sort of times. So if we take a look at Mark's top 10 average and his fastest lap with this car and compare it to his top 10 average and fastest lap with the truck, you can see we're looking at close to half a second slower with this truck. As for me, again, if we look at the sort of top 10 average as a gauge and fastest lap, you're looking at about 0.4 of a second quicker with this truck over this one. Arguably, I think Mark might have been able to go a little bit quicker with this one in the final if he'd put additive on his rear tyres, because as the race went on, the grip came up on the front wheels, but obviously the grip balance meant that his back end started to slide out all over the show. And because he's not an experienced truck driver, he didn't take that into consideration, and it kind of caught him out towards the end of the race. So I think with a little bit more additive, he would have probably got those times closer to a 0.4, maybe even a 0.3. But the data there shows for both me and Mark running these trucks, you're looking at close to half a second a lap difference with this car. Now, if you bear in mind, we might be doing 20 laps in a race at half a second, you're looking at a good 10 seconds quicker around the track. When we came to the fastest qualifier, which is always the last one before we go into the final, I was running this truck and I still managed to get 20 laps with this truck, which I was really pleased with. However, going into the final, because Mark out-qualified me, he got this one in the final and I took the faster shell, so I started in 5th, and I was able to work my way back through the pack. Few mistakes from Nathan led to me taking 2nd place in this race. Now, it is worth noting, out of all of us in the final, it was only this one truck that wasn't a Montech. So everyone in the final was actually, apart from Mark, was running the Montech shell, and maybe that is a reflection that these cars are a little bit quicker. However, it's not massive differences that we're talking about here. Is it going to make much of a difference taking off the rear wing? I don't really know. We'll have to wait and see for the next video, and we will do a comparison to see if the gap between the Montech shells and the rest of the field is bigger or smaller. I'm not opposed to running the Tamiya truck because actually this shell looks nicer when it's going around the track. However, if I want to win, I've got to kind of follow what everyone else is doing, and at the moment all the top guys are running this shell, so therefore I will follow suit. I've actually got another one of these shells on order from Rochester RC. If you want to get a discount on Rochester RC, super simple. At the checkout, just put into the discount code POPALONGRC and you'll get a little discount at the checkout. You can get yourself a Tamiya truck from Rochester RC. They also do the Montech shells there. So we have got another one of these on its way. So next time we go truck racing, me and Mark can run the same shells, and hopefully we'll get a fairer reflection as to who is the better truck driver. Right now I'm feeling pretty confident because my times, they say it all really.